The U.S. gets closer to signing off on a vaccine. Operation Warp Speed unveils its plan to get doses to hundreds of millions of Americans from coast to coast. News Nation correspondent Joe Khalil live for us in Washington, D.C. tonight with details. Joe?
Yeah, that's right. The White House held a summit today that basically did two things. It laid out in detail how logistically it plans to get all of these vaccine doses to Americans, and it also sort of took a victory lap on Operation Warp Speed. I want to make sure we get the tone of this right, because taking nothing away from the accomplishments of Warp Speed, right now we still are seeing record numbers of hospitalizations in some places and deaths and cases. So that's why it's critically important that these plans are rolled out and unveiled publicly to make sure Americans know exactly how those vaccines are getting to those who need them.
If authorized, tens of millions of vaccine doses will be available this month.
At a White House summit Tuesday, President Trump and leaders of Operation Warp Speed laid out their plans to distribute COVID vaccines across the country.
Every American who wants the vaccine will be able to get the vaccine, and we think by spring.
But in the immediate term,
our goal is upon EUA, emergency use authorization, which will be determined by the FDA. We will start moving vaccines within 24 hours. We will move them throughout the entire United States of America.
Here's how General Gustave Perna, Chief Operating Officer for Operation Warp Speed, says they'll get it done. Pfizer and Moderna will get their vaccines to carriers like FedEx and UPS. From there, the vaccines will be shipped to designated sites in each state, decided by those states' governors. From those points, every state has an individual plan to move those vaccines to hospitals, care centers, pharmacies, and other locations where patients can receive their first doses. At the summit, President Trump also signed an executive order demanding that drug makers prioritize Americans before sending doses overseas.
The president and I will use all authority we have under the Defense Production Act to ensure that the American people get what they need.
Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar responded to reports that drug maker Pfizer claimed it offered the administration an additional 100 million doses of its vaccine for Americans over the summer, but that the White House declined. Those doses, according to Pfizer, have now been committed overseas.
We frankly hope these negotiations and discussions would happen in private rather than in the newspapers.
I was under the impression that we were ordering that 100 million, those 100 million doses.
Democrat Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky says there's no excuse for the White House to pass on an offer for more vaccine doses.
That's what we need right now. He's been bragging about the vaccine and let these doses slip out of his hands.
Some Republicans, like Marco Rubio, defended the decision not to buy 100 million more doses from Pfizer before its trials were complete.
And the White House's position is, you haven't even proved that it works yet, and you want us to sign on the dotted line. And I think it was smart to contract with multiple companies.
Now, it's unclear whether or not that executive order has any real authority to change the way that Pfizer has already planned this out. They've committed a lot of those vaccines overseas before today, and so questions about whether that is going to happen. We reached out to Pfizer for comment on this story. They didn't get back to us, at least in time yet, for our story tonight. Reporting live in front of the White House, Joe Khalil, News Nation.
Thank you, Joe. In just